G'day, I'm Cahn, and in this video, I'm testing a suggestion that I got in a comment on my last video. Basically, someone said DCDC chargers are expensive for what they are, and can't a 12-volt solar charge controller basically do the same thing? Just connect the alternator to the input instead of connecting a solar panel. And they also suggested that you can get a 30 amp solar charge controller for something like $9 US. So it's a lot cheaper than anything else labeled DCDC. So it's a fair question. You've got an input, you've got an output, it's rated to 30 amps, so why can't you just use it in place of a DCDC charger? Well, I did some quick Googling and I reckon that for $9 US, you're getting a regulator or solar charge controller that looks a little something like this. I don't have a 30 amp version, but I do have a 15 amp version. So I think it's still worth connecting this up between an alternator and a battery and seeing what happens. But before I do, I just want to talk about how these actually work and what they're doing, because that's where the first problem starts. So here's the basic setup. For this test, I've got two different power supply options. My big 15 volt, 60 amp or 900 watt power supply that in this scenario is basically standing in for an alternator and starter battery. Then I've also got a much smaller power supply that's actually powered by USB-C. Now this one can output up to 20 volts, 5 amps. So in this case, it's going to stand in as a solar panel. Basically, it's going to give me a nice stable 20 volt output. We don't have to rely on the conditions outside. From there, I've also got my typical lithium iron phosphate battery, and I will swap in an AGM if we do see anything interesting happening. And that's going to be monitored in real time with this voltage meter and shunt so we can see the volts and the current. From there, I've got a couple of different solar charge controllers or solar regulators and a DC-DC charger. But the first thing I want to actually start with is simply connecting the big power supply directly to the battery through nothing but a manual isolator. So I've set the voltage on the power supply to about 13 volts. So if I connect this circuit now, it won't actually start charging. No current will flow because the battery in this case is at a higher voltage already. But as I slowly start turning the voltage up, you'll see that the current increases as well. But what I want to show here is that even if I turn this all the way up to 15 volts, the battery itself doesn't just instantly go to 15 volts. So that's full voltage now, but we're only at about 14 volts on the battery side. And that all comes down to Ohm's law. Basically the resistance in the circuit, the resistance in the battery itself, and the voltage difference all come into play. So trying to get to 15 volts on this end and only at about 14 volts on this end. So there's about 1 volt of difference. This battery has such low internal resistance, it basically wants to pull a massive amount of current to bridge that 1 volt gap. But because the power supply is electronically limited to 60 amps, it hits a wall. It physically can't deliver any more current to force that voltage higher. Now I could do the maths and figure out exactly what's going on in this circuit, but what's more important to understand is that just because you're putting a higher voltage into a battery doesn't instantly mean the battery goes to that higher voltage. It will eventually, as the battery gets more and more closer to full, you'll see that voltage rise. And this is actually a lot like how a PWM or pulse width modulation solar regulator works. It's basically just turning on or off and connecting the solar panel directly to the battery. The thing is, solar panels are up around 18, 20, or even more volts. So what they do is turn on and off really quickly to regulate the voltage and then make sure they're not overcharging the battery. There's obviously a little bit more in there. There's some electronics and smarts that limit the voltage the battery will get to. But basically, it's switching the connection on and off really rapidly to regulate what's actually going into the battery. So before I connect this, the next problem we have with using a battery or an alternator through a solar charge controller like this is that unlike a solar panel that is naturally current limited, basically if you had a 20 volt, 5 amp solar panel, it can only output 5 amps. But this little solar controller doesn't magically current limit the input to 15 or 30 amps just because it says so on the front. That rating is telling us how much current the controller is designed to handle on the charging side, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to limit the source to that number. And that's fine when your source is a solar panel because again, it's naturally current limited. And there may not be an actual current limiting circuit in this. So if we connect it to this with potentially 60 amps, As you can see, it's connected and we are pulling 60 amps through this at the moment. Now to prove this isn't just a lithium thing because of its really high charge acceptance, I'm going to swap the AGM battery in and we'll see how that goes as well. So same basic principle, except this time the battery's down at around 12.3 volts. So it's already connected and starting to increase the current. So if I turn this all the way up, this poor little solar charge controller is going to connect the circuit and just pump current into this battery. So it's not a lithium problem or an AGM problem. The problem is we're not using a solar panel, which is a current limited source. Now in this setup, I am limited to 60 amps of current, but if you were connecting this to a starter battery and alternator, there'd be a much higher current limit. It might be hundreds or potentially thousands of amps that your system could output if the voltage difference was big enough. So it's a pretty good recipe for letting out the magic smoke. And that's where that classic quote comes from. Any machine can be a smoke machine if you operate it wrong enough. So now let's switch back to the lithium battery, put as much voltage as we can into it and see what happens. It's too hot to touch currently. Ow. And it's starting to smell like burning plastic in here. At this point, I decided to open it up, look for damage, and see how hot the internals were getting. I can already see the magic smoke coming out. There you go. So I've found the limits. One of the MOSFETs just fell off and it desoldered itself. Oh. So that's PWM's well done. I'm gonna let this air out a little bit and then come back and we'll test MPPTs. So what about an MPPT? Well, it's more plausible because an MPPT does actually contain a DC to DC converter. And it uses that to hold the panel at its maximum power point and then convert that energy into something a bit more useful. So if we use our 20 volt 5 amp example of a 100 watt panel, it will take the 20 volts 5 amps, convert that voltage down to what the battery needs, say 13 volts, and then can actually output the full 100 watts minus losses. So you'd be getting something like 13 volts, 7.5 amps, rather than 13 volts, 5 amps in the case of a PWM. And we can test that with our little USB-C power supply here. Plug it in and we can actually see, hopefully on here, it is sitting at just under 100 watts there, 19.1 volts, 5.1 amps. Hopefully you can see that. And then on the output, we've got 13.5 volts, 7.2 amps. So it is actually converting it from the higher voltage to the lower voltage and boosting the amps or boosting the current in the process. So now we get back to the original question, can we use a solar charge controller instead of a DC-DC? Well, let's connect it up to our alternator starter battery and see what happens. Right, so I've connected it up and the first thing I'm going to do is just try and bring it up to about 13.4 volts. We can match the output voltage of the power supply to the battery voltage. Straight away you can see that as I ramp the voltage up, nothing actually happens. So unlike the PWM where the circuit connected and it started charging, in this case, the MPPT actually needs a slightly higher voltage to start charging. For this particular model, out of interest, it needs battery voltage plus 2 volts. So this needs to reach 15.4 volts for the MPP to start operating. So we'll see how it goes. We'll give that a second. Well, it worked with the little 20 volt power supply because obviously it was high enough for that maximum power point tracking to start functioning. But here, we've got plenty of current available, but not high enough voltage. We'll see how we go with this one. So while this is starting up, we'll see if it actually starts charging. So here's where we run into the second problem. With an MPPT, yes, it has the DC to DC converter in it, but most of these camping or recreational style MPPTs have what's called a buck converter, which means it can only drop voltage down. If you have 18 or 20 volts, perfect, it'll work perfectly fine. It'll take that 18 or 20 volts, drop it down to what your battery needs. But they don't have what's called a boost converter, which is what converts the voltage up. So you could input 12 or 13 volts and it would charge the battery at a higher voltage. And that is why you actually need a DCDC charger. So considering this isn't working, we may as well swap one in and see how it performs in exactly the same setup. So if a buck converter can only drop the voltage down and a boost converter boosts the voltage up, then a buck boost is what can do both. And that's where a proper DC-DC charger comes in. It's able to not only drop the voltage down if need be, but also boost the voltage up. So if your supply voltage is lower than the voltage of the battery you need to charge, it can still effectively charge the battery. So that's number one. It can correctly charge the battery even if the voltage is varying or too low on the input. So that's what you need with an alternator and starter battery setup. And then secondly, it'll actually limit the input current. So unlike the PWM, it doesn't just connect the circuit and let as much current as possible flow into that battery. It's only going to draw essentially what it needs. So a 25 amp charger will probably only draw 27 or 28 amps from your supply, and that's based on the voltage drop and resistance of your wiring as well as the overall circuit. So if it's set up properly, it won't draw much more than 25 amps. And then it'll actually properly charge the battery to whatever voltage it requires, not just what the supply is giving it. So can you replace your DC-DC charger with a $9 solar charge controller? Nope. No, you can't. Can you replace it with a slightly more expensive, slightly better performing MPPT regulator? No. Sure, it does contain that DC to DC converter, but they're designed for very different jobs. And that's why most DC-DC chargers these days actually have an MPPT input built in as well, because they're doing completely different jobs, they're designed for different things. And yes, they can share some of the internal components and hardware for that DC-DC conversion, but they're doing different things. So I think the final thing to check is whether this MPPT will fire up off this power supply. So interestingly enough, the DC-DC charger with the inbuilt MPPT is starting up at 15.5 volts, and you can see it's stepping up through its algorithm, trying to find that maximum power point. So we finally got a solar charge controller to actually work at roughly battery input voltage. So I could probably turn this down. There we go, about 14.7 volts. But you can already see the problem. If you need to buy a DC-DC charger anyway to utilize the solar charge controller that works with a battery, you may as well just use the DC-DC charger itself. The second problem is the voltage cutout on the solar side of things is occasionally different to the alternator or battery input side of things. So you might drop your starter battery down to something like 10 volts, but because it's connected to the solar input, it will keep trying to charge. So let's give it a go. So normally with this DC-DC charger, it should cut off at about 12.8 volts. But if you had the ignition wire connected, it could be as low as 11.8 volts before it cuts out. However, because it's connected here to the solar input, it may not cut out to something like 9 volts, which is going to be a big problem because it will drain your starter battery completely and try and charge the second battery. So we'll see what actually happens. So as you can see, we're still charging at over 19 amps and the starter battery voltage is down below 12 volts by a significant margin. So you can see that this would just discharge your starter battery in order to charge your auxiliary battery. Now, you could go out and try and find a solar charge controller with variable thresholds that you could change the cutoff point, and you could probably find one that does have buck boost conversion functionality, but at that point you're probably spending more money than if you just got the right tool for the job anyway. So just get yourself a DC-DC charger in that case. As always, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this answered the question and it wasn't too convoluted. If anyone else does have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, please drop a comment down below. I'll get back to you or potentially test it in a future video. Massive shout out to my channel members as well. Really appreciate you. Thank you all so much, and I'll see everyone in the next video.